Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the ASEAN for the People Conference 2025, and welcome to Room ASEAN 5. We will soon begin our first session in this room, D1, Why So Difficult? The Challenges of Advancing People-to-People Connectivity in Southeast Asia, which will be conducted in English. Bagi yang membutuhkan penerjemah ke dalam bahasa Indonesia, silahkan ambil perangkat yang tersedia di meja dekat pintu masuk. Saat meninggalkan ruangan, mohon tinggalkan perangkat tersebut di tempat duduk Anda. We kindly ask all participants to take their seats as we will begin shortly. For those who wish to go to restroom or prayer room, please follow the signage outside. To start our session, D1, Why So Difficult? The Challenges of Advancing People-to-People Connectivity in Southeast Asia, I would like to invite Fatimah Zahra, Lead Coordinator ASEAN Youth Forum Secretariat, who will moderate this session. Yeah, the stage is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We had lunch. I want to make sure that our energy is ready for the discussion. So, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks. So, welcome to the session of Why So Difficult? The Challenge of Advancing People-to-People Connectivity in Southeast Asia. I'll address the background of this discussion first. Despite decades of regional cooperation, people-to-people connectivity in ASEAN remains limited. Three regions host some 20 million higher education students across more than 7,000, yet intra-ASEAN student mobility accounts for only a small fraction of total outbound flows. For 13 major ASEAN universities, only 10 until 20% of their transnational collaboration occur within the region, showing that most academic cooperation remains extra-regional. Civil society organization, over 600,000 in Indonesia alone, and many thousand more across Southeast Asia are often underfunded, fragmented, and poorly linked with counterparts in neighboring countries. Likewise, business tend to view ASEAN primarily as marketplace rather than a community. And at the same time, there are positive trends. However, we have 45% of ASEANs, which is 129 million international visitors in 2024, came from within the region itself. And the regional payment connectivity framework is beginning to facilitate cross-border transactions. In this slide, this session will discuss why Southeast Asia still struggle to connect, exchange, and drive meaningful people mobility while also considering what has worked well so far and what fresh ideas can be explored to strengthen ASEAN to move closer to people-centered community. Before we start our fruitful discussion, we will have first opening remarks from Senior Fellow of Foreign Policy Community Indonesia, His Excellency Iwan Wiranata Atmaja. Please, your time is.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I know after lunch it's always the heavy challenges for us, but since the topic for this afternoon is very interesting, so I think all of you will, still energized to listen and to engage into meaningful discussion. Let me put some elements just to provoke the discussion by referring to what has been transpired in this morning meeting. It is very interesting, right? So I think now our job is to find the details how. For example, people talking about the people-centered, but how? This is the panelists will enrich our perspective on this. Uh, Having said that, let me begin with a reflection from Pamarti about, he wrote in his book, Does ASEAN Matter? Maybe many of you has read that book, very good book with regard to ASEAN. So I will suggest all of you who involved in ASEAN Matters to read that. That's like a textbook to me. He wrote, and I quote, promoting a people-centered and people-oriented ASEAN must be viewed both as a process and as an outcome. The process refers to engaging non-state stakeholders in policymaking and implementation. The sense of ownership in ASEAN affairs. The outcome refers to whether ASEAN makes a difference in the lives of its people. The challenge, of course, is how to translate this vision into concrete government policies and programs that truly involve stakeholders in line with the ASEAN Community Vision 2045. In Indonesia, for example, awareness of ASEAN has not yet reached to the grassroots. Even in universities, the ASEAN community is not always seen as a reality to be implemented. So the homework, we still have the homework to do with regard to this issue. This is why today's conference, initiated and organized for the first time by civil society actors, is so important. It represents a bottom-up efforts to remind governments that ASEAN societies are ready to take the initiative in building meaningful connectivity. I'm not going to go further from this because I don't want to ruin the very interesting topic. So I just hope that we will benefit from the discussion of this topic this afternoon. So thank you very much.
Thank you, His Excellency Ambassador. As His Excellency mentioned, today we will enrich our discussion on how to strengthen people-to-people connectivity after we enrich our stomach in the lunch. To start the session, I will call the panelists to come to the stage. First, we have Dr. Nguyen Antoine from Vietnam. Please, he is a senior lecturer at the Faculty of International Economic, Diplomatic Academy of Vietnam, and Dean of Faculty of International Economic, written a number of books and articles published in both Vietnam and abroad, and also ambassador to Vietnam to Ukraine, 2017 and 2020, until 2020. The second panelist, we have Dr. P.T. Sirangnam from Thailand. Executive Director of ASEAN Foundation, Deputy Director for Academic Affairs of the ASEAN Studies Center in 2012, selected for the 2019 Rising Star Royal Thai Government Scholarship Association Award, Rising Star, and Australia Alumni of the Year Award from the Australia Alumni Association of Thailand and Australian Embassy Thailand. The third panelist, we have Mbak Melinda. Mbak Melinda Martinez from Indonesia. The lead researcher at Asia's Yusof Ishak Institute. She is a production editor of the ASEAN Studies Center of blog post ASEAN's Focus Plus Fulcrum Singapore. She was a program manager at Kota Kita Foundation, and also she was a researcher at the Center for Metropolitan Studies at Tarumanegara University, Jakarta. And last but not least, we have Coco Valentin de Costa Pinto for Timor-Leste, Executive Director of the Timor-Leste NGO Forum. He has worked for the NGOs for often 15 years in the movement, mainly involved in advocating for the implementation of good government principle. He actively involved in building partnership with CSO at the regional level, in advocating for the challenges of implementation of principle of democracy, human rights, and climate justice. Give a round of applause for all the panelists. Okay, to start the discussion, maybe we can talk first about our education and university as it has a very important roles in our society. So maybe the first question to Mbak Melinda, with 20 million higher education students across ASEAN, but limited intra-regional mobility, what policy shift or institutional innovation could turn universities into real engine of regional connectivity?
Afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Mbak Fatima, for giving us the context for our discussion today. So in regards to intra-regional mobility, especially on students, I think I just want to give you a very brief snapshot before I share my thoughts on that. So you mentioned earlier that there are around 70 million.
7,000 university or
Yeah,
20
7,000 university and 30 million, 20 million students. Yeah, that's the domestic number. I just want to clarify, that's the domestic number. But according to, I think, the UNESCO data, there are several hundreds of thousands students from all ASEAN countries, the 10 ASEAN countries. Maybe if it includes Timor-Leste, the number is higher. It's around 500,000 ASEAN students studying abroad. But out of these 500,000 students, only 10% of it are studying within the region. So, you know, the students from Indonesia studying in Malaysia, the student of Vietnam maybe studying in Singapore, or Timor-Leste who like to study in Indonesia, you know. Only 10% out of 500,000 or 600,000. And the rest, the 90%, they mostly go abroad, according to some, I think, educational consulting firms. They mentioned that Australia, the EU, Japan, you know, they a lot of these students, they like to go there. Yeah. So why is that the reason? Only 10% of 500 to 600,000 study in ASEAN. Of course, there are, personal choices driven by the students, right? They want to study in high regarded universities. Global North, or they're having affinity, you know, with the culture in Japan, the culture in Korea, so they decide to do that. So of course there is a personal influence in making that decision, right? But there are also several, I would say, structural institutional barriers why we as ASEAN collectively cannot still until today are unable to package our, you know, higher education as a whole, you know, that is very attractive for students. For instance, you know, maybe because it is driven by the requirements, difficult requirements, inaccessible information about these universities. Although maybe there are also several issues such as, you know, the visa requirements as well. It's maybe hard to find information. How do I study in Vietnam? How do I study in Brunei Darussalam? And of course, yeah, I think these two are the reason why there are not so many intra-student mobility across the region. Maybe I'll stop there first. Yeah, I would like to hear from other panelists as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Mbak Melinda. So for the barrier we have in university and regional connectivity, we have not only because of personal choices, but also we have the problem of structural barriers that hinder the student to study within the region. Okay, after we discuss about the university and education regional connectivity. Maybe we can move forward to the regional cooperation. For Dr. Nguyen, after decades of regional cooperation, why does people-to-people connectivity in ASEAN still lag behind economic or political cooperation? What barriers persist in this area? Please.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you, Fatima. Ian. Yeah, I think it's a very good question because we can see that ASEAN community consisting of three pillars. The first pillar is economic ASEAN economic community. The second one is political and security community. The third one is social and cultural community. So social and cultural pillar has been left behind compared to the political and security pillar and economic pillar. I see there are three reasons. The first one is prioritization of the political, security, and economic versus social and cultural aspect. Why? Because ASEAN was established in 1967. Its first purpose is for political cooperation. And second one, in terms of economic. And when after establishment for many, I mean the more than 3 decades, and then ASEAN talked about the economic cooperation in 1993 when the ASEAN intended to form AFTA. And from AFTA, we moved to the economic community. So I think the first reason is the priority of the economic and political aspect. And second one is a state-centric approach of ASEAN. It means that ASEAN remain government-driven, focusing on consensus and sovereignty. And I think it's third reason is about asymmetric in development of infrastructure. You see in the ASEAN, including East Timor in the future, there are large gap between income development level, and so that is will be difficult for all ASEAN to access with internet, digital infrastructure, education, and other aspects. So I think at least three reasons. So weak is persist of the pupil-to-pupil connectivity. I also think there are three aspects. First is mobility barrier. I mean, despite visa-free travel among many ASEAN pupils, but the visa for working in every ASEAN is difficult because of the mutual professional recognition. And student and academic exchange remain limited compared to EU-style program. And second one is the language and cultural diversity. And we see in the Southeast Asia, I mean the ASEAN 11 in the future, in the near future, we have 11 official language. Apart from that, there are 100 languages of ethnic minority ethnic. And so, for example, in Vietnam, we have, apart from the one official language, we have 54 minority languages. So it hinder. I mean, it's difficult for us to cooperation in pupil-to-pupil connectivity. And last one is weak institutional support for P2P, I mean for pupil-to-pupil. Initiative like ASEAN Social and Cultural Community exist, but funded and follow through a relative limit. And NGO and young group face limited engagement platform and often struggle with bureaucratic harden. So I think there are three factors persist to challenge pupil-to-pupil connectivity in ASEAN country, not only in Southeast Asia, in ASEAN country, because East Timor will be ASEAN sooner. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Nguyen. So we found similar pattern here in university and educational. We also found the mobility barrier before, but also in the context of people to people in the general context, we also find mobility barrier also, despite we also have the long history context that why the priority is still on the economic and also the political only. Thank you so much, Dr. Nguyen. And with the similar question with Dr. Nguyen, Dr. Piti, and maybe you want also to address why beyond physical exchange, what emerging realms in digital platform, export and virtual classroom, fintech are shaping the way Southeast Asia connect. How should ASEAN harness these new spheres of interaction to complement traditional forms of mobility?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our fellow ASEAN citizens. It is an honor to join you at this, ASEAN for People conference organized by Foreign Policy Communities of Indonesia. I think today's theme, right, the why so difficult, the challenges of advancing peoples-to-peoples connectivity in Southeast Asia goes to the heart of my organization's ASEAN Foundations. Because ASEAN Foundation mission is to bring ASEAN closer to people, and at the same time, bring peoples closer to ASEAN as well. And yet, after 5 decades, right, from 1967, after 5 decades of integrations, many citizens still ask, why does ASEAN feel so distant? Why is connectivity so difficult to advance? Let me highlight the gap, as you asked me. I would like to highlight 5 challenges. Number 1, information gap. ASEAN awareness remains low. How many of you can name 10 ASEAN members? Soon to be 11. See, I see only one hand over there. Number 2, inequality. Exchange opportunities often reach only urban elites, right? While the rural peoples, rural communities are left out. This is the bridge. This is the gap we need to bridge. Number 3, I echo Professor Nguyen about language and cultural barriers. Without sustained investment in cross-cultural learning, mutual understanding is shallow. Number 4 challenge, it's the limited infrastructures. I also echo Professor Nguyen again. Hard infrastructure receives far more funding than youth cultures or grassroots exchanges. And last but not the least, number 5 challenge, it's the trust deficit. Geopolitical rivalries and nationalist narratives undermine confidence among people. These are real obstacles. But of course, they are not insurmountable. From our work at the ASEAN Foundations, after 3 years with ASEAN Foundations, I propose 3 strategic instruments. We find a solution to fill the gap, right? That can transform difficulty to possibilities. Number 1, the first strategic instrument is partnership. No single actors can do this alone. We need international government organizations, dialogue partners private sectors, scholars, local governments, NGOs, CSO to work together. For example, the project at the ASEAN Foundations, right now we have AI Ready ASEAN, supported by google.org, aim to raise AI literacy for 5.5 million people across 10 ASEAN countries. We have Data Science Explorer program supported by SAP. For the past 6 years, we already trained 110,000 students from high school to universities in the arts of data analytics in order to help them use data analytics skill to solve sustainable development goals. Another example is AI ASEAN, AM ASEAN, AI for MSME advancements. We get support from AVPN to support 120,000 micro, small, medium-sized enterprises across 10 ASEAN countries plus Timor-Leste. We also have the Scam Ready ASEAN, our newest project just launched last month with the support from Google again. We are going to empower over 3 million people across 10 ASEAN countries to know how to protect themselves from scams activities. So for the next 2.5 years, ASEAN Foundations will connect and empower more than 10 million people across 11 members of ASEAN countries. This success exists only because multi-stakeholder collaborations. So that's the first strategic tools. The second one, human capital development. Connectivity is about shared skills and mindset, empathy, teamwork, digital literacy, entrepreneurship, language, and lifelong learning. Our program at the ASEAN Foundations from ASEAN Foundation Model ASEAN meeting. We just finished East Asia Summit meeting, first of a kind, to celebrate 20th anniversary where 18 countries joined their hand together. And this time we include the youth from Timor-Leste as well, to empowering youth across ASEAN, supported by Maybank. And last but not the least, Seed for the Futures, supported by Huawei. This is not just only the program, but we try to incubate. This is the incubator for this skill set that we need for empower our people, human capital. If they have knowledge, if they have know-how, if they have network, then they can thrive among these long-distance connectivities. And last but not the least, data and knowledge management. Connectivities must be mature and scale. You cannot finish the job if you cannot measure it, right? So you need to be mature and scale. Currently, we are piloting regional dashboards, a real-time data set to help decision-making, and digital platform to share lessons and sustainable impact across borders. I think with these three strategic instruments, we may be able to bridge this gap and make people-to-people connectivities among 10, soon to be 11 countries of ASEAN possible.
Thank you so much, Dr. Piti. It's interesting that you mentioned not only acknowledge and mapping the obstacle, but also a strategic way on how to strengthen the people-to-people connectivity from the ASEAN Foundation experience. And when we talk about people-to-people connectivity, it is very important for us also to talk about the civil society organization. And for Coco, soon to be ASEAN member state, Timor-Leste, no? Yeah, we are very excited. The civil society organization remain underfunded, I think it's mentioned before, and fragmented, yet they are a crucial bridge for cross-border understanding. How can grassroots initiative sustain impact and build regional linkage even with scarce resources?
Oh, thank you very much. Very interesting question. Yes, the question is maybe we refer to the, more in the past, it's a very old question because the existence of the CSO, that is a dependency to the donor and INGOs funding that very affected when the situation is underfunded or there is any fragmentation. We are hard to find any space to continue to the operational for the each NGOs. And for Timor-Leste, yes, we have a similar situation in around the Asian country. In Timor, so we have so many of CSO that's working and very dependent to the donor and then international funding support. And a few years ago, and last year, so when the Mr. President of America has changed the foreign policy related to the funding and then stuck for everything, and then we feel that this is hard for us on to continue something related to we have established a few years ago. But what we need to see on finding any space in the future, and for Asian country, and it's necessary to build a strong coalition. And we know that since 2004, we conducted the Asian People Forum for every year, and then we coming together in one table and discuss how's the challenge that is still facing by the CSO around the Asian country. And then there is many of challenges that we continue to face in. Even we have a past of 5 decades of the ASEAN extension. And there is still have inequality, exploration, and something that is still continue asking for the CSO to continue to voice in to the state to be the considered. And but there are ways like for the unfunded, it is the only way that we should continue to closely with the government as the own of the citizens asking, because we all their peoples, and what we did or we would like to do, it is a part of the government plan too. But the important that's like on how to uphold the principle of the good governance, and then the more I'm asking more participation of the citizens, the community should be the own of the action that we plan it. And yes, so we will soon to be as Asian community. I mean, 3 weeks ahead, and will be very soon. And then we will, to continue to discuss the whole situation in Asian country as Timor-Leste's challenge too. So the important is that we should commit and to build the strong coalition to the CSO among the Asian country, and we should, to do something that's different on how to support the people, the marginalized peoples in the base rural area should be, in front of the services we should provide. And sure that to uphold the principle of human rights and democracy, because some things continue to happen around the Asian country. This is, the real situation that asking we should come in together and then look at the Asian that will come in there with beautiful dreaming and beautiful Asian people that have a more prosperity and harmony and safe environment. Yep.
Okay, thank you so much, Coco. As it's mentioned, I think it's aligned with the previous panelists that mentioned before about the partnership, but you call it strong coalition that also uphold for the coalition that we work for this long and maybe hard work. We should also uphold the values of human rights and prioritizing the marginalized community. I think we still have time, yeah? Timekeeper, 2 minutes maybe. The question for Mbak Melinda, how do we monitor after we talk about the challenges and also the strategies? Maybe it's interesting to talk about the monitoring. How do we monitor the progress of people-to-people connectivity in ASEAN?
Thank you for the question, Mbak Zahra. Okay, finally it's working. I think to monitor the progress of people-to-people connectivity in ASEAN, we need to look at several, I would say, clusters, or clusters of mobility. previously talk about student mobility, right? We talk about CSO, civil society organization mobility. We talk about digital integration. Dr. Piti mentioned a little bit earlier. I think we need to underline 3 other clusters. I think these 3 clusters are quite important as well. The first one is the mobility of our migrant workers. We need to examine how our migrant workers are facilitated to work in our region. There are several important migrant worker clusters in our region. For instance, Myanmar, Cambodia to Thailand, Indonesia to Malaysia, the Philippines, Indonesia to Singapore. Unfortunately, their protections and their rights are very fragmented now. I think the experience of COVID-19 pandemic really told us well, right, how countries are pointing each other who should take care of our migrant workers if they're being stranded, and who should take care of their vaccination. It happened in our region, unfortunately. That's the first cluster we need to look at quite closely. The second cluster is I think Dr. Nguyen previously highlighted earlier, the professional workers, right? The professional cluster is also very important because ASEAN has established what we call the ASEAN Mutual Recognition Framework. ASEAN MRA, right? Many years ago that recognizes, I think, around 8 or 10 professional workers such as nurse, architects, and so on. But unfortunately, until today, we has not seen that the recognition is implemented. Visa requirements to work in ASEAN countries are so fragmented. Requirements, that's the requirement from the government. Sometimes we see requirements imposed by the private sector themselves. They want potential employees to have like certain requirements coming from certain university, having different skills, you know, to just employ in a specific sector. And the last one, I think we should praise ASEAN for this. The last one is the cluster of tourist mobility. I think this is the most progressing in ASEAN. We need to acknowledge since I think the free visa regime was introduced in 2006. ASEAN has tremendously tapped the benefit of this tourism mobility. Now, where ASEAN citizens can travel across Southeast Asia for free, can stay for conferences, short-term conferences, for at least some countries. I think they give 15 days, 30 days, but definitely tourism is the most progressing, I would say. Yeah, these 3 clusters of mobility, I think we need to look at quite closely more.
Thank you so much, Mbak Melinda. So we have some cluster where it's very interesting way of thinking to better monitor and to see the progress of which cluster that we want to progress, the monitor of people-to-people connectivity. And also that you mentioned tourist mobility. Yes, we like to travel around Southeast Asia to try the food, the culture, and the cities. Indonesia to Bangkok, and Malaysia to Vietnam, and so on. Okay, very insightful panelists, and now the timekeeper has watching me. You start the Q&A session. We have, I think, 8 minutes left for the Q&A session, or 6 minutes left. I will invite first the discussion from ASEAN Disability Forum, IAN Brunei, and Catalyst for Change. Please remain your contribution under 2 minutes so we can allow more public question to contribute to the question, please.
All right, so thank you. My name is Yosran Nainggolan. I'm from the ASEAN Disability Forum. So I'm here represented as an ASEAN Disability Forum, and I'm a research manager in ADF. So for information, ASEAN Disability Forum established in 2010. We are organization concerning person with disabilities organization. So we have the main or core objective is to mainstreaming person with disability in Southeast Asia. And also we promote about the right of the person with disabilities. So we also have some issue about the capacity building because in Southeast Asia, we have a challenge to enforce or to fulfill and to protect the person with disability rights. So that's why we have a lot of homework in terms of the person with disability rights. And we have some activities. Every year we have a conference, and for this year we have a conference in Malaysia. So maybe you can see the website of the person, the ADF, to know about the information of conference. So we also have some capacity building for the media, for example, because in our country, media still not aware about the person with disability issues. So that's why this is our homework together. I hope that we have, in the future, we can learn together to fulfill and to protect our person with disability. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we also have from Ayan Brunei, Catalyst for Change and Timur Network.
Hi, my name is Caroline. I'm a representative from Ayan Brunei. I just wanted to give my 2 cents. Thank you to all the panelists. I really, really enjoyed the discussion, actually. And if anything, I'm really struck by the gap in, ASEAN's ambitions and the reality of what it actually is. Because, when you talk about the numbers, 20 million higher education students across more than 7,000 universities, but very few of them, or at least not a significant portion of them, actually study within ASEAN. And then when you talk about CSOs and NGOs as well, we all know it's like we have an abundance of CSOs and NGOs, but their networks actually, they don't usually extend across borders. Even me, being part of ASEAN Brunei, the word ASEAN is already in the name, right? So ASEAN actually stands for ASEAN Youth Advocates Network. But a lot of the work that we do is very local, and we try our best to, extend the ASEAN and embrace the ASEAN identity, bring it back to Brunei youth. But even we, as the Brunei chapter of an ASEAN organization, we also feel that distance. And then, but we do know that people do want to connect. I think it was mentioned that half of ASEAN's tourists are intra-regional. So it's not like there is no demand for the movement and the exchange. So I think initiatives like the Regional Payment Connectivity Framework are very promising because it's one of the ways that, that make cross-border interaction tangible and convenient. So I think for me, the challenge might be less about physical mobility and more about the meaning behind it. So how, we may not have the answer now, but maybe, food for thought. How do we turn short-term mobility, whether for work or study or leisure, into long-term connection and trust? And, maybe the real question is, how would we make the people-to-people connectivity look like we design it from the ground up, not as a policy framework, but as, real and lived experiences that make ASEAN visible and relatable in everyone's everyday lives? Thank you.
All right, I promise there will be 2 minutes. This will be 2 minutes. My name is Rafli. I'm from Timur Network Foundation. In English, it's basically said Eastern Indonesia Foundations. So you can see from this hat. And I think I would like to give some perspective from people as well. Even we, as the Eastern Indonesia youth, the way I want to talk about Indonesia's story, how we want to be, we want to have an identity in Indonesia itself. People from Eastern Indonesia have to come to Jakarta, the capital city. This is the only way we can introduce whether our song, our culture, and we call Jakarta as a melting pot. And I think our main issue, in short, different than the European Union, is basically because we are archipelagic island. We are island-based country. So we are not that much connectivity yet because it's basically distance. And to share your thought, even in Jakarta itself, not everyone knows a lot about Eastern Indonesia. Some people thought that Nusa Tenggara is close to Papua. And even if they see the map, it's so far. So I think the challenge of identity is what we do now is melting pot. So for now, we work to make sure Jakarta is working as a melting pot for us to understand our identity, for us to talk within each other. But I want to ask to Papiti as well. But first of all, I would like to thank Papiti. The AI Ready for ASEAN has worked within our community. I think we can give a clap there. And thank you so much. That AI program works very well in Eastern Indonesia. But my question will be to some of the audience. Does Jakarta has played the role as a melting pot very well for connecting people very well? And if it has not, what is the challenge? Because I think melting pot is important. In Jakarta, in Eastern Indonesia, we have this principle, baku dapa, baku carita, and baku bantu. It means meeting, telling stories, and then helping each other. If we don't have that, we don't have this melting pot, we don't have place to meet, we might not even have an identity. So I would like to know the speaker.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And one more question, under 2 minutes, please. Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Sachin, Network Coordinator from NGO Forum on Cambodia. I'm from Cambodia. So thank you for the organizer for bringing this session for people connectivity in ASEAN. So in terms of Cambodian, I think that in terms of social capital or local connectivity, it's really strong. So we have more civil society. We can consider that over 5,000 NGO and association in Cambodia with only a small country with around 15 million population only. And we also have more or strong community-based organization. We estimate that around 25,000 community-based organization in Cambodia. But I think that it's still a challenging for Cambodian in terms of how we connect beyond our country contract into the Asian country. And it's very interesting to learn from our speakers touching on different aspects since the macro level in terms of politics, in terms of political, geopolitical, or social, cultural. And I may appreciate that you raised one thing about diversity of social, cultural, so it could be one of the challenging. But I think that in terms of the similarity or similar social, cultural, it could be a problem as well. For instance, in certain countries like Cambodian, Thais, Laos, and Myanmar, so we have similar in terms of culturals and our religion and something like that. But sometimes whether we think all those results or factor as a connector or whether we think all those factors as a divider. So if we have a willingness or commitment to sort out this as a connector, so we will bring together for the prosperity, for the connectivity, as well as for prosper for Asian community. Okay. And the other aspect I would like to say is we also thought about the grassroots connectivity from our guy. In Les Demos also mentioned some things about partnerships among civil society. So I hope to hear some advice from our speaker. So how could we better promote a grassroots connectivity among Asian countries in terms of mentions about migration is one of the key issue we may thought about how could we deal with this issue, whether we should develop into a safeguard policy for Asian countries to support for those migrant workers or any better mechanism beside this factor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. So I think we have a general question for all the panelists and one, I think, two specific questions. So for the question for all the panelists, how we can turn the short-term mobility connectivity into a long-term connectivity, and how we can build a grown-up rather than a top-down policy, or so it can link to everyday experience. And for Dr. PT, we have, does Jakarta plays the role of melting pots very well? And also we have the diversity of social cultural. Does it become the connection or the divided our ASEAN? and also for the grassroots connectivity from Timor-Leste. Anyone want to answer? Okay, please, Dr. Priti.
Apart from the Jakarta melting pot, I also would like to touch up on the issue by my Cambodian colleagues as well as from the Filipino Association of People with Disabilities. I think Jakarta do a very great job as a melting pot, right? Think about when Indonesia get independence for the very first place. They have so many work to do. And at the end, they come up with a national motto, right? The unity in diversities. Instead of using Java script, they use the Romanized letter in order to accommodate a lot of people, right? They use the Bahasa, which can make them easily connect not only between the island, but with Malaysia and Brunei as well. I think this is a very, very good example to bridge the people. And as you can see, Jakarta is very, very vibrant. But of course, I think when we talk about the melting pot, normally people look it on the horizontal perspective, right? From the Aceh to Irian Jaya. But actually nowadays, we also need to do it on the vertical perspective as well. From the lowest people in the societies, the homeless people, to the super extremely rich people upper there, right? How to melt these kind of barriers. That is more challenging, right? And of course, not only between something that is like natural, like gender, we also need to think about the spectrum of gender, of sex life. This is the thing that I think people forum like this need to echo it, right? Some countries in ASEAN are so advanced. They talk about same-sex marriage already. But I think we need to think about it more in Southeast Asia. Religious, sex life, socio-economic status, right? Touch up on the issues of, this is also related to the common share culture. We have a very, very good model. For example, UNESCO just listed the so-called kebaya. Kebaya is the traditional dress for women in Strait of Malacca. So Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and Brunei Darussalam, we share this kebaya dress, and we list it together as the UNESCO World Heritage. I think we did have a very, very good model, right, to do this. But of course, we still need more for the case of the mainland ASEAN, right? Because right now, the conflict that started from only the conflict between two families of the leaders escalate to the conflict between peoples. That's the thing we need to touch upon that issues. Because Thai peoples and Cambodia people, we have a lot of shared cultures, as well as Laos and Vietnam, as well as Thai and Myanmar. And we depend a lot on each other, not only in terms of history, cultures, but business as well. There's a lot of business firms that in Thailand that utilize the workers, officers from our neighboring countries, and that is now sells the product to our neighboring countries as well. Hence, we have to think about these greater goods more than just, claim something over the social media. I think that's the thing that we need to touch upon, and of course, fighting against scamming as well. And last but not the least, at the ASEAN Foundation, we try our best to accommodate people who have all kind of spectrum. For example, we did have the project called ASEAN Digital Literacy Program, supported by Google as well. This project, we try to let ASEAN people know how to fight against fake news, misinformation, and disinformation. And also AI-ready ASEAN. We developed the content, for example, low bandwidth content. Because in some places in the remote island of the Philippines, of Indonesia, we don't have that strong internet signal. So we need the low bandwidth versions. Some even don't have the electricities. So we have to gather the people in the community area that still access to the solar panel to empower them. And of course, when we have the participant of the program who have, for example, hearing disabilities, we provide them the simultaneous translation with a sign language, hand language, in order to accommodate all people into our projects. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Piti. 5 minutes left. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. So we have still the question for how we can connect the short-term connectivity into long-term connectivity, and also how the grown-up policy ideas so it relate to daily life of people. Anyone want to?
Yes. In fact, I am working in the education area, and I think for us, one of the most important thing is how to promote ASEAN pupils to learn ASEAN language. Yeah, because I also share with my colleague in Brunei and colleague in Indonesia talking about the capacity building. Yeah, and so far in Vietnam, we many university open the new specialization is regional study. I mean the Southeast Asian study. So also to promote the pupil apart from English, they can English, they can learn the another ASEAN language as a second language. Yeah, because if language of the ASEAN promoted to learn, and we can overcome the barrier of the linguists. Before I also remember the suggestion from the Dr. Mahathir Mohamad in the 1990 something. He suggested maybe should be use Malaysian Bahasa as a regional language at that time. Why? Because he said it's Indonesia, Malaysia can speak Malay Bahasa. And apart from that, in the Philippines, in the Mindanao, is the south of the Philippines, the pupils there also to speak Malay. In Singapore, a part of pupil can speak and understand Malay. And in Vietnam and in Cambodia, and there are some the minority speak Malaya. So it for me is language is very important to overcome the barrier to promote pupil to pupil connectivity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nguyen. Melinda?
Marks for colleague from Brunei. You mentioned earlier about how to make the connectivity more meaningful, right? I think, unfortunately, at this stage, I would say that a lot of our governments in this region, they still focus more on the quantity first, because the people-to-people connectivity is not deep enough, I would say, in terms of numbers, right? We've seen the numbers of intra-student mobility still very low. But in the future, when the numbers are achieved, I would say we need to focus more on the quality. If I may suggest a sector or a potential in ASEAN that can be tapped, probably is the connectivity that provides care and mutual support. I think that's probably is going to be the next, a deeper, meaningful connectivity for the people. I've seen a lot of people across the region are willing to provide mutual supports. For instance, people in Singapore, in Brunei, they mobilize funding for the people affected by earthquake in Myanmar. Recently, I also saw on social media, right? I think people in Malaysia, in Singapore, they order food for a Gojek driver affected by the demonstration. I think this is the spirit of gotong royong that we need to amplify further after our quantities have been achieved.
Thank you so much, Mbak Melinda. Yeah, when that happened, there is a tagline called sibling. Southeast Asia sibling that connect how the care among transnational youth and also people caring about the other nation. Do we still have time, Joel? No, okay. I feel like it's a very warm, not only fruitful, but also warm conversation. But unfortunately, we only have like 1 hour to discuss. Maybe we can have more conversation after the panel end, right? You can discuss with Coco, Mbak Melinda, Dr. Piti, and Dr. Nguyen. Feel free to reach out to them. No? Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for the enthusiasm today. Please give a round of applause for all the panelists and for the participants today. Okay.
Thank you very much to our panelists for such an insightful and warm discussion. Once again, everyone, let's give a big round of applause. Before closing this session, we invite the panelists to remain on stage or in front for a group photo.